Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullah wa barakatuh, my dear brothers and sisters and dear viewers of Imam Hussein TV. We are here in Karbala to give you another update, the latest update that we have. We are here at the top floor studio here in Karbala. You can see that there's been a bit of a change here. There's 4 AC units that cover the entire building. There's a stage here for us. Inshallah, this will all be built with your donations, and inshallah you will find it in your heart to help build this place for you, for your children, for your grandchildren, and everyone to hear the message of Imam al-Hussein alayhi salam. These AC units have cost us $130,000. We need this money to be able to accommodate for everyone, for the shows, for the guests that we have here in Karbala. You can see that from this studio we overlook the beautiful shrines of Abu Fadl al-Abbas alayhi salam, Imam al-Hussein alayhi salam, the Mukhayyam, and right there the construction that's happening at Tel al-Zainabiyya that will be there where Sayyidah Zainab alayhi salam stood and saw the calamities of Karbala. Now my dear brothers and sisters, if we just go behind me here, you can see that there's still a lot of work to be done. The flooring needs to be covered with tiles. Now the walls need to be done, and a lot of stuff in the background that hasn't been decorated or painted. It's literally just bricks. So my dear brothers and sisters, this is the latest update that we have on this studio, and inshallah we will receive your donations to help complete this building for you, for your children, and for your grandchildren. Wassalamu alaikum wa rahmatullah wa barakatuh.
All have a duty towards the preservation and the propagation of the message of Imam Hussein alayhi salam. Indeed, one of the best ways to work towards the reappearance of Imam al-Mahdi ajjalallahu ta'ala farajul sharif is through promoting the values of Karbala. Imam Hussein Media Group is the only Shia television network that broadcasts globally in 5 different languages: Arabic, Farsi, Turkish, Urdu, and English. We are appealing to the lovers of Imam Hussein alayhi salam worldwide to support the channel such that it may continue its global operations. Imam Hussein Media Group is seeking 1,000 partners to pledge to a £14 contribution per month. This will allow the channel to sustain its operating costs as we continue to spread the message of Imam al-Hussein alayhi salam in multiple languages across the globe. You be a part of this great legacy and donate today. You can pledge in 2 ways. www.imamhussein3.tv/donate will take you direct to our donation page where you can pledge monthly. Or you can call or WhatsApp us on 0044 793 9917163. Imam Hussein TV, your gateway to Karbala.
بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم. الحمد لله رب العالمين، والصلاة والسلام على سيدنا وعظيمنا وحبيب قلوبنا وشفيع نفوسنا أبي القاسم محمد. اللهم صل على محمد وآل محمد. وعلى أهل بيته الطيبين الطاهرين وأصحابه الغر الميامين. الحمد لله الذي جعلنا من المتمسكين بولاية سيدي ومولاي علي بن أبي طالب. اللهم صل على محمد. الحمد لله الذي هدانا لهذا وما كنا لنهتدي لولا أن هدانا الله. Amma ba'd, Abu Bakr refused to give her any of the property. So Fatima became angry with Abu Bakr, kept away from him, and did not talk to him until she died. She remained alive for 6 months after the death of the Holy Prophet, peace be upon him, and his family. When she passed away, she was buried by Imam Ali alayhi salam, and he did not inform Abu Bakr of the burial. I wouldn't blame you if you thought that this was a passage from a Shi'i text, from a Shi'i author, from a Shi'i piece of literature. Indeed, it's a passage from Sahih al-Bukhari of all texts. You find that this passage is found in one of the most famous non-Shi'i texts in Islamic history. If ever there was a problem, a difficulty, a nemesis for Abu Bakr, after Saqifa, it was Fatima al-Zahra alayha salam. Indeed, who would have thought that a female would be his major problem? There were enough personalities who were around in Medina at the time who had already objected to what took place at Saqifa. Their objection could be seen in the fact that they were not ready to pledge allegiance to Abu Bakr. Many assume that everybody had pledged allegiance to him and that everything had moved smoothly. This couldn't be further from the truth. There were already a number of personalities who we discussed last night who clearly were not ready to pledge allegiance to Abu Bakr for one reason or another. Either there were those who were busy with the burial of the Holy Prophet, peace be upon him and his family, or there were those who blatantly had disagreed with either his appointment, the method of his appointment, or him taking this leadership. You therefore found that the most outspoken of them in many cases were the males of Medinian society. But if ever there was one who was more outspoken than all the males put together against Abu Bakr and Umar and what happened at Saqifa, it was Fatima al-Zahra alayha salam. Fatima al-Zahra alayhi salam, as we know, in the Muslim world today, is the most revered lady, one may argue. If you go to Shia and non-Shia, they'll all say to you how much they love Fatima al-Zahra alayhi salam. As in wherever you travel in the Muslim world, you'll see people who admire Fatima al-Zahra, people who name their children after Fatima al-Zahra alayhi salam. But in the cases of many out there, they do not know about the differences and the war of words between Fatima al-Zahra alayhi salam and Abu Bakr. If they did, then they have to ask themselves a major question. If Fatima al-Zahra alayhi salam does not agree with that particular government and believed that there was power that was usurped, then what does it say about the government of that time? If you claim to love Fatima, your love for Fatima cannot be simply based on the fact that she's the daughter of the Prophet. Here we have a lady who, when we examine what took place after Saqifa, is the most vehemently outspoken of all personalities in that society. Nobody spoke out against Abu Bakr and Umar, and nobody proved to be a thorn in the lives of Abu Bakr and Umar at the beginning of their authority, like Fatima al-Zahra alayhi salam. Yet if you were to ask many Muslims, do you understand this? Do you believe in this? You'll find that there are many out there who don't even know about this. When you see the tradition that I quoted, the tradition from Sahih al-Bukhari is a tradition which in reality is self-explanatory. As in, if Fatima al-Zahra alayhi salam says that she is angry with somebody, her anger is an anger which is the anger of Rasulullah sallallahu alayhi wa alayhi. As in, the Holy Prophet himself would say on numerous occasions, Fatima bad'atun مني من آذاها فقد آذاني. Fatima is a part of me. Whoever angers her, whoever hurts her, has hurt me. Hurting her, hurting the Prophet, is hurting Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Therefore, if Fatima al-Zahra alayhi salam left this world angry with somebody, what does that tell you about that person? Because every year you ask me as a Shi'i, that why is it that I do not revere Abu Bakr, or I do not revere Umar, or I do not revere Uthman? Why? It's because I see that there is a clear instance in my history where the holiest household in this religion are clearly angry with personalities because of their behaviors. When I see that, how can I love the one angered and the one they're angry with? Logically speaking, I see two people, one who's angered, another who's angry with somebody who's the cause of anger. How can I love both of them? As in, do I believe in a Jannah? And in this heaven, I believe that the one who has died angry with somebody are going to end up in the same heaven as one another. As in, surely when the Quran keeps telling us, why do you not reflect? Why do you not ponder? Further than that, how does she die so young? As in, this is a lady who's still, according to some narrations, in her teens, in her late teens. How does she die so young? When you look at what's taken place in the last few lectures that we've delivered in Muharram, we're not talking more than 10 days of history. Many might assume that when I've discussed the pen and paper, and I've discussed Osama's army, and yesterday when we discussed Saqifa, and today when we discuss Fatima al-Zahra alayhi salam, you might assume that this is over 3 months, 7 months, 9 months. You might assume that this might be over 10 years, 20 years. I'm literally discussing 10 days worth of history. In literally 10 days, we have personalities who have not only attacked the Prophet emotionally with their words. After the Prophets died, they've gone ahead and formed their own election. After that, they begin to take out their venom on the household of Rasulullah sallallahu alayhi wa alihi. Let us tonight examine how taking out your venom on Fatima means there's no issue one day in taking out your venom on the sons of Fatima. And I'd like to do this in the following stages. Number one, when Saqifa took place, which house did the dissenters gather in? The ones who were against what took place at Saqifa. Number two, if they gathered and they dissented in this house, does that mean that they are now fasiqeen? Are they kuffar? Are they out of the fold of the religion of Islam? Number three, what do non-Shi'i texts show about the reaction of Umar when he heard there were a group of people gathering in the house of Fatima? What was his opinion? Number four, did that group have to pledge allegiance to Abu Bakr? If you didn't have to pledge allegiance to the Prophet of Islam when he said he was a prophet, why should you be forced to pledge to a Khalifa? Number five, when Fatima al-Zahra alayhi salam realized what the plan was, what did they do to the piece of land given to her by Rasulullah sallallahu alayhi wa sallam? Number six, in Sahih al-Bukhari, what is the whole hadith? In the chapter of the Maghazi, in the chapter discussing Khaybar and the aftermath of Khaybar, what does the hadith say exactly? And when we break down the hadith, how does the hadith highlight not only Fatima dying angry, but not only nobody knowing where her grave is, not only that she died in the middle of the night, but also Imam Ali's clear disapproval of Umar ibn al-Khattab's behavior in the lead up to the death of Fatima al-Zahra alayhi salam. After that, when Fatima al-Zahra alayhi salam was buried, what was the reaction of Imam Amir al-Mu'mineen alayhi salam to the stand of his wife Fatima? And in the Muslim community, did that result in them showing respect to Imam Ali when Fatima died? Or did they distance themselves even more from Imam Ali? And to conclude, when we look at Islamic history, what were the reactions to Fatima al-Zahra in Islam in the Umayyad period? Who were the ones who loved her? Who were the ones who cursed her? And on the 10th of Muharram, does she deserve a mention? Of course she does. But who exactly mentioned her? Let's examine this and dissect the topic in depth. Saqifa has taken place. When Saqifa is taking place, naturally we could not say 100% of the people agreed with what took place at Saqifah. Because already we said amongst the Ansar, Sa'ad bin Ubadah and his son Qais said, we will never pledge allegiance to Abu Bakr. We said that Imam Ali alayhi salam was burying the Prophet and was finishing everything that was taking place. Imam Ali alayhi salam wasn't the only one who was doing this, nor was he the only one who had heard about what had happened at Saqifah and was unhappy with it. Who were the others? Amongst the others was, for example, Az-Zubair, cousin of Imam Ali alayhi salam. He was amongst those who had blatantly spoken out against what was taking place. Amongst them was Salman al-Muhammadi, who many call Salman al-Farsi. Amongst them was Al-Miqdad ibn al-Aswad. Amongst them, for example, was the likes of Hudayfa al-Yaman. Amongst them, you find, for example, some mention the names of Abdullah ibn Mas'ud. Others, some mention Bilal as being amongst those who had an issue with what was taking place. Because there's always an interesting question why Bilal, Mu'adhin of Rasulullah sallallahu alayhi wa suddenly stops reciting adhan after Rasulullah sallallahu alayhi wa dies. Why have you stopped? And why are you dying in Syria far away from the Islamic land? The reality is that all of these realized what had taken place. That in the space of 1 week, Umar ibn al-Khattab not only had raised his voice against the Prophet, not only had Abu Bakr blatantly not joined Osama's army, not only had the two of them gone to Saqifah, but now they were walking around and ordering for people to pledge allegiance. Why are you forcing people to pledge allegiance? My Prophet, when he came to Mecca, did he put a sword on people's heads and say, you must believe in me as a prophet? I ask all of you, the Prophet of Allah, sallallahu alayhi wa alayhi, did he go to people when he became a prophet and said, if you don't believe in me as a prophet, I'm going to behead you? Do we have any evidence of that? If you were Christian or you were Jewish and you didn't believe in the religion of Islam, which ayah do all of us use from Surah Al-Baqarah to prove that I cannot compel you to be a Muslim? Which ayah? La ikraha fid din. There is no compulsion in religion. فَمَنْ شَاءَ فَلْيُؤْمِنْ وَمَنْ شَاءَ فَلْيَكْفُرْ. Whoever wants to believe, they can believe. Who wants to disbelieve, they can disbelieve. قُلْ يَا أَيُّهَا الْكَافِرُونَ لَا أَعْبُدُ وَلَا أَنْتُمْ عَابِدُونَ وَلَا أَنَا عَابِدٌ مَا أَعْبُدُ وَلَا أَنْتُمْ عَابِدُونَ مَا أَعْبُدُ لَكُمْ دِينُكُمْ وَلِيَ دِينِ. To use your religion to his mine. The Prophet may be a Bashir, he may be a Nadhir, he may be a Mundhir, a warner, a reminder. One thing he's not, Musaytar, cannot compel. A person wants to join my religion, they can join. And if they don't want to join, they don't have to join. What I have never understood in Islamic history is how is it that with Nubuwwah, you cannot force someone to pledge to Rasulullah. But suddenly with Saqifah, you're going around forcing people to pledge. What Islam is that? If Rasulullah sallallahu alayhi wa alayhi, when he announced his prophethood, went round to every house and be like, if you guys don't come towards us and accept us, I'm going to burn your house down. I'll be like, you know what? I don't want to follow this guy. This guy's crazy. This is lunatic. This is blatant ignorance. Would you agree? As in any non-Muslim out there, if you told him the Prophet Muhammad, peace be upon his family, if you never agreed with him, he used to pick up a sword and he comes to your house and beheads you, he'll be like, you guys, Prophet's mad. And so what's he doing? Either I can agree to follow him or I agree to disagree. The reality is that a non-Muslim will look at this and say this is ridiculous. After Saqifah happened, do you know what began to take place? They had a problem. How do we get Ali to pledge? Why is Ali a problem? A, because he's the closest to Muhammad sallallahu alayhi wa alayhi. Nobody is as close to Rasulullah as Ali ibn Abi Talib. B, Ghadir, there's too much of a wording there to indicate that he's bigger than everybody else. C, he's not present. So what did they want? They wanted him to pledge. Hold on a minute. If you people are already in power, why are you so adamant that Imam Ali has to pledge to you? You know, what's your problem? Say Imam Ali, for example, said, no, I don't want to pledge to you. Why do you have to force a pledge? We know in Islam, a bay'ah, which is coerced, is not a bay'ah that can be accepted. A bay'ah has to come from the heart. It cannot come from, if I now get somebody to come to the Khalifa and I'm like, give bay'ah, and I've pointed an AK on his head. That person, even if he gives bay'ah, at the end of the day of judgment will say they forced me into giving a bay'ah. But what happened was, if you read literature, you'll find these companions, where did they gather? The house of Fatima and Ali. All of them were gathering in that house. Your Amir al-Mu'mineen, your Zubairs, your Salmans, they were gathering in that house. What is that house, by the way? Who's in that house? In that house, there's a young boy. He's 8 years old. He's called Imam al-Hassan alayhi salam. And in that house, there's a young boy called Imam al-Hussein alayhi salam, 7 years of age. And in that house, there's a young girl by the name of Zainab alayhi salam, 5 years of age. And there is another young girl who possibly might be called Zainab as well, but a smaller Zainab. We may call her, for example, Kulthum alayhi salam. And there is a lady by the name of Fatima, daughter of Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam, who's pregnant as well at that time. So this, we will call it in our language, a young family. Do you agree? Yeah, because Imam Ali alayhi salam is in his 30s, Fatima al-Zahra is in her late teens, and they have kids. Again, go to the non-Muslim out there. Say to a non-Muslim, if there's a house where there are children there, even the non-Muslim will say, listen, if I've got a problem with the elders of the house, put the kids aside. Don't touch any of the kids. It's a non-Muslim who would say this. When all of these were gathering in the house, they were telling Imam Ali alayhi salam, Mawla, what do we do? As in, look what they've done. They've gone to Saqifa and they've had this skirmish in Saqifa. They've had this election take place. When they were gathering in this house discussing with Imam Ali alayhi salam, there are two texts I want you all to read at home, and they're not Shi'i texts. One of them is the Musannaf of Ibn Abi Shaybah, and the other is Tarikh Abu al-Fida. These two texts are available in Arabic. I don't know if they're available in English, but they're certainly available in Arabic. If you look at them, there's something which is interesting, which occurs in both these texts. What is it? Umar's threat to burn the house of Fatima. In both these texts, Umar ibn al-Khattab, because of what? Not because of Fatima al-Zahra. But Umar ibn al-Khattab has a problem that why are these people not pledging allegiance to Abu Bakr? Why do they have to? If Abu Bakr is chosen by Allah and they don't pledge allegiance, even then you shouldn't attack them. Because the man greater than all of them, chosen by Allah as his final prophet, if you never pledged allegiance to him, you were not attacked. Did anyone ever go to the house of the Munafiqun and say that there's a family in the house, I'm going to burn the house down? When Rasulullah sallallahu alayhi wa was alive, ever do you find, because we find ayahs in the Quran that says, وَلَوْ كُنْتَ فَضًّا غَلِيظَ الْقَلْبِ لَانْفَضُّوا مِنْ حَوْلِكَ. If you, O Prophet of God, were hard-hearted or you were severe, people would have run away from you. Umar ibn al-Khattab, in the first of these texts, the Musannaf of Ibn Abi Shaybah, there's this narration from Ubaydullah bin Umar, from Zayd bin Aslam, from his father Aslam. What is the narration? The narration tells us how Umar ibn al-Khattab has a discussion with Fatima al-Zahra while these are all in the house. He says, we respect you. Nobody's more beloved to the Prophet, to us than you. But if these people think that they can gather in this house and dissent against the government, we will burn the house down. Who's in the house? See, when you say, I'm going to burn a house down, who's in the house? If you want to look at Sunni political theory, some of the people in that house are going Jannah. They're promised Jannah. So I'm going to burn a house of people who are going to heaven. Me and them are going to coach. We're going to link. We're going to relax in heaven. It's absolutely crazy. It is absolutely crazy. Of course, we could look later on. People started to write names of hadiths. People, they're all going Jannah. But at that moment, if you think logically, if Umar ibn al-Khattab burns the house of Fatima. Remember, this is not a Shi'i book, just in case someone says, this is your Shia literature. Musannaf of Ibn Abi Shaybah, it says that he says to her, listen, we respect you, Fatima. I'll make it clear to you. They continue to gather in this house. Why? Because they are descending against the Islamic government. And if you dissent against the Islamic government, then you're going to have to be burnt. If that's Islam, then as-salam ala al-Islam. Peace be upon Islam. If that's Islam, even I wouldn't want to be part of that Islam. He says this, therefore the threat has already begun that I'm ready, Umar ibn al-Khattab, I am ready to burn a house, which the Prophet used to say, Assalamu alaikum ya Ahl Bayt al-Nubuwah, outside that house, where the Prophet used to recite, إِنَّمَا يُرِيدُ اللَّهُ لِيُذْهِبَ عَنْكُمُ الرِّجْسَ أَهْلَ الْبَيْتِ وَيُطَهِّرَكُمْ تَطْهِيرًا. He used to recite outside of that house. Umar ibn al-Khattab is now ready, according to the Musannaf of Ibn Abi Shaybah. And in Tarikh Abu al-Fida, you found the discussion there as well, where Fatima tells him, but you know what this house is? He says, well, if we're going to have to burn it, it's going to have to be burnt. When this therefore takes place, we see clearly that the government that's being established is a government that is ready to get rid of any of its enemies, including the very flesh of Rasulullah sallallahu alayhi wa alihi. When someone tells me, why did Karbala happen? I say, hold on. If you're willing to burn Fatima, what are the tents of Zainab? If you're willing to burn the house of Fatima, what are the tents of Zainab? I've already burnt before, and those who are meant to be more religious than me. So what's the problem if I do this? If those more religious than me were ready to do it. He already knew that if Ali and Zubair and the rest of them think, and that's why you'll find medieval scholars like Ibn Taymiyyah, when they say that there is, if an attack happened on the door of Fatima, then it's justified because you're breaking the fitna of the dissenters against the government. Yeah, hold on, who's behind the door? If an attack happens, who's behind the door? You say to me that there's 4 ladies of paradise. This is their hadith. They say 4 ladies of paradise. Fatima and Khadija and Maryam and Asiya. You say to me, Fatima's a part of me. Whoever angers her angers me. You have now reached a level, and that's why every listener out there, I don't care if you're Shi'i, Sunni, Sufi, Salafi, whatever you are, you admit that there's a problem. There's a war of words between Fatima al-Zahra, Abu Bakr and Umar. You have to decide for yourself what your position is before you get to your grave. Because you're going to have to face your Lord and your Prophet one day, either saying, I loved the one who was angered, or I loved the cause of the anger. Someone says, yes, but these texts, how do they prove? What do they prove? They prove to us that Umar ibn al-Khattab felt that it doesn't matter what needs to be done, even if the house where revelation used to take place, because we know Jibreel came in that house. How then, innama yurid? Where was the house where the verse of purification took place? Jibreel came to that house. Umar did not mind, even if I have to burn the house. Not kill you, Fatima. Burn the house. Well, if you're going to burn the house, that means anyone who's in that house, even the 2 masters of paradise, even there, they can get burnt as well. When they did that, they kept on saying, Ali must pledge, Ali must pledge. Baba, if you've become Khalifa, why does Ali have to pledge to you? Why? Unless you're chosen by Allah. Even if you're chosen by Allah, why should he pledge to you? Get on with your Khilafah. Unless you know that, you know what, we need to get past this hurdle. One way or the other. That's why if you look at Nawawi or Ibn Hajar, they always are trying to justify Fatima versus Abu Bakr, Umar versus Fatima. They're trying to find a way to reconcile. Why? Because of that one hadith in Bukhari. That hadith in Bukhari highlighted that when they wanted to finish Imam Ali and Fatima al-Zahra, knowing how outspoken they were against Saqifa, what was the way to do it? Confiscate their property. Confiscate which property? Confiscate the property known as Fadak. Why confiscate Fadak? For what reason did they want to confiscate Fadak? On the one hand, economically speaking, you virtually kill any opportunity for them to rise economically. The date palms of Fadak, which is about 160 km from Medina, the date palms of Fadak are in similitude to the date palms of Kufa. People used to swear by the date palms of Iraq. Isn't that true? Until today, the land of Iraq has the most beautiful palm trees on earth. And the Arabs used to swear by their palm trees. And that land of Fadak, that was a piece of land that belonged to the Jews of Fadak. When Imam Ali alayhi salam achieved victory in the Battle of Khaybar by defeating Marhab and his soldiers, when you achieve victory in war, in Islamic law, the booty can either be achieved through warfare or no warfare. Yes. Either I've achieved victory by riding horses and I've fought with swords, I bought shields, I bought my camels. If I achieve victory through warfare, then there is a certain amount of khums distribution that has to take place. Quran says in Surah 8 verse 41, وَعْلَمُوا أَنَّ مَا غَنِمْتُم مِّن شَيْءٍ فَأَنَّ لِلَّهِ خُمُسَهُ وَلِلرَّسُولِ وَلِذِي الْقُرْبَى وَالْيَتَامَى etc. etc. 1/5 of what I acquire has to be given towards God, the Prophet, and then the rest could be shared amongst the soldiers. That's if I fought in a battle. When Imam Ali defeated the Jews of Khaybar, the Jews of Fadak were their neighbors. The Jews of Fadak said, listen, we ain't going to get involved with Abu Turab, nor his sword. You can have our land. The Prophet said, half of the land will still be yours and half will come to us. If a piece of land in Islam has been acquired without war, it doesn't fall under the category of khums, it falls under the category of fay'. Okay? Fay' is that piece of land which is acquired without any horses, fighting, cavalry. And the word derivative of fay' can be found in the Quran. وَمَا أَفَاءَ اللَّهَ عَلَى رَسُولِهِ مِنْهُمْ فَمَا أَوْجَفْتُمْ عَلَيْهِ مِنْ خَيْلٍ وَلَا رِكَابٍ وَلَكِنَّ اللَّهَ يُسَلِّطُ عَلَى رَسُولِهِ مَن يَشَاءُ. You found here that this ayah mentions very clearly what? That which you acquire without fighting, without horses, without cavalry, falls under the category of fay' in Islamic economics. Fay', unlike khums, can be distributed as the Prophet wants to. With khums, there is a fifth towards a certain criteria of people. With fay', if Rasulullah sallallahu alayhi wa acquires that piece of land, then the Holy Prophet can distribute it as he likes. Khaybar took place 4 years before he died. Remember this point. Fadak is not inheritance. They made it a case of inheritance. Fadak, we have a qa'ida called qa'idat al-yad. Possession indicates ownership. If now I'm living in my house, okay, and you claim that it's yours, is it me who has to bring witnesses or you have to bring witnesses? I'm living in the house. You say it's yours. Who has to bring the witnesses, me or you? Possession indicates ownership. Unless you go and bring yours. Fatima al-Zahra, that property, how did it come to her? The Prophet, because he acquired that property. What did the Prophet say? The Quran revealed the ayah according to Shia narrators. وَآتِ ذَا الْقُرْبَ حَقَّ. Give your near ones their haqq. He said in honor of Khadija and what she gave to Islam from her wealth, I'm going to give it to Fatima al-Zahra alayhi salam, this piece of land. Because her mother gave so much wealth to the religion, the least we could do is give this to her. When it was given to her, it was given to her when? 7th year after Hijrah. The Prophet and what we're talking about right now is 4 years later. Therefore, Fadak on the first level for us is not inheritance. Fadak is that which already belongs to Fatima. It belongs to her. All of a sudden, as soon as Saqifa happens, Fadak confiscated. Oh, a Fadak being confiscated is not a surprise. If I've got a man who wants to burn a house, what's a piece of land? As soon, and what I'm going to narrate to you right now is purely Bukhari. I won't go anywhere else. I'll narrate Sahih. Not because Sahih al-Bukhari is a hujjah on me. It's not. But for the non-Shia out there who are like, you guys just make up issues between Abu Bakr and Fatima. They all loved each other. No, I'm reading Sahih al-Bukhari. Kitab al-Maghazi, the chapter of the expeditions or the wars. On the section of Khaybar, I read that Fatima al-Zahra alayhi salam sent for someone to ensure that her fate was given to her. And that when that person was sent to Abu Bakr, this is exactly what's written in Sahih al-Bukhari. You can all go and search it online. Shia and non-Shia. Go and search it online and let your conscience speak to you. She sent somebody to make sure that that which is hers, the fate of Fadak, is with her. Abu Bakr had confiscated it. Abu Bakr said, the Prophet says that our property is not inherited. The Prophet, peace be upon him and his family, says, our property is not inherited. Rather, what we leave behind is sadaqah. And that is at the disposal of our family. So Abu Bakr refused to give Fadak to Fatima. You're the sole narrator of this hadith, which works wonderfully for him. The prophets, they say that the Prophet does what? The property is not inherited. I ask all of you a question. Very basic question. Everybody listening to me, wherever you are. In Islam, a lady can inherit or no? You all agree? And you all have cases where your marhumin pass away and there's a sister in the family and that is distributed. Why would there be a law for the Prophet and a law for everybody else on this issue? Why his daughter no and my daughter yes? Does it make any sense that everybody's son or daughter inherits except Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi? Does that make any sense? Why not? No, because prophets, we do not leave behind property as inheritance. Yani what, you just leave your family just to rot on the earth. You don't leave anything behind of that which you acquired. That's what Islam became. He said that the prophets do not leave behind property as inheritance. Okay? Rather, what we leave behind is sadaqah, and that may be at disposal of him. So Abu Bakr refused to give Fadak. Fatima al-Zahra alayhi salam, her reaction is fundamental. Why? In one reaction, she will highlight whether she believes the government of the time is legitimate or illegitimate. Do we agree? Fatima al-Zahra became angry with Abu Bakr. That's all we need to know. Even if I finished my majlis here, that's enough. Because on the day of judgment, her father is going to have to meet him and meet her. And she's going to say, I died angry with him. Fatima al-Zahra became angry with Abu Bakr, kept away from him, and did not talk to him until she died. When she became angry with him, if we just sidestep from Bukhari for a moment, when she became angry with him, was it just a tantrum? There's a lady, emotional. You know, some people will say these things. Orientalists say Fatima is always in a bad mood and emotional and so on. When she became angry with him, you're saying that prophets don't leave behind inheritance. Let's look at the Quran, because Fatima is the walking Quran. Because Abu Bakr versus Fatima, if you were to look at it from the Sunni angle, it's non-ma'soom versus non-ma'soom. For us, it's non-ma'soom versus ma'sooma. You agree? In Sunni angle, even if there's a war of words between them, they're both not ma'soom. You have arguments. For us, no. There's a difference between when a fallible speaks against an infallible. A lady who was in the ayah of Kisa, innama yuridu. That for us is enough. She's been purified where no impurities come near her. She looked at him and she said to him, that you say that prophets don't leave behind inheritance? How about the ayah in the Quran? وَوَرِثَ سُلَيْمَانُ دَاوُودَ. Sulaiman inherited from Dawood. I thought prophets don't leave anything behind. How about the ayah about Yahya and Zakaria? هَبْلِي مِن لَدُنْكَ وَلِيًّا يَرِثُنِي وَيَرِثُ مِنْ آلِ Yaqub. Yahya, Nabi Zakaria. Sorry, in the story even you find others in the Quran where they're saying, provide for me an heir. Someone who inherits from me, inherits from the family of Jacob. Then she says another ayah. Look at Fatima al-Zahra alayhi salam. What she's showing us. Don't respect me just as a daughter who you imagine is like this young girl. I'm a Quran walking on earth. And my husband is greater than me. She said, have you not read the ayah in the Quran? كتب عليكم إذا حضر أحدكم الموت إن ترك خيرا للوصية للوالدين والأقربين بالمعروف. Have you not read the ayah of Abu Bakr in Surah 2 verse 180? Quran is the power of Islam. If the Muslims have memorized it, they're powerful. If the Muslims neglect it, know that they're miles away. كتب عليكم. It has been prescribed upon you that when death approaches you, if there is a certain amount of property or wealth left, you write a wasiyah to your near ones. Am I not the near one of Muhammad? Sallallahu alayhi wa. Am I not the nearest one? All these ayahs of the Quran, so Sulaiman can inherit David. Yahya can inherit Zakaria. The Quran told the whole of the Muslim world that they can inherit from their fathers. Or have you taken us back to Jahiliyyah? Because in Jahiliyyah, the ladies could not inherit, they were being inherited. Are we going back to Jahiliyyah now? Bukhari's hadith, what does it say? Fatima was angry with Abu Bakr, clear in the hadith. She refused. And then she stayed away. And then after that, what happened? And then after that, the narration mentions she did not talk to him until she died. Bukhari continues interestingly. Who narrates this hadith? Aisha. Narration continues interestingly. She remained alive for 6 months after the Prophet died. This is in Bukhari. When she died, her husband, Imam Ali alayhi salam, this is in Bukhari, buried her alone and did not inform Abu Bakr of the funeral. How many things can you pick out just from those 2 lines in Bukhari? How many things? Firstly, that this lady, the daughter of the Prophet, dies months after her father. Secondly, that Imam Ali alayhi salam does not want to inform Abu Bakr of what's taken place. If Imam Ali felt Abu Bakr is this pious, spiritual individual, then why not invite him to a janazah? I've seen people who are not the most religious in the world, but you'll still tell them, listen, tomorrow we're doing my father's janazah, may Allah bless his soul, it's at 10:30 at this cemetery. Please join us. Why Fatima doesn't want them to be at the funeral? Isn't that enough? That's when Fatima Zahra alayhi salam is saying, I don't want these to be at the funeral. And Bukhari himself admits Imam Ali did not inform Abu Bakr of the funeral of Fatima Zahra alayhi salam. What was it being mentioned here? Imam was making it very clear that for us, this situation indicates our rejection of the government, our rejection of these people. If now Imam Ali has rejected them, I ask in Sunni thought a question. Imam Ali alayhi salam's wife and him have blatantly not pledged allegiance. Do they remain Muslim or no? Of course, what's the argument that comes back? Later he pledged. After she died, he pledged. 6 months later, he pledged. Why? Why? Why would he wait to pledge? If this man is the most pious man and the leader of the Muslims, why would he wait until he pledges? What's interesting is when the hadith continues. The hadith continues that Imam Ali says, while Fatima was alive, people used to come towards me. When she died, they all left me. Very interesting. In Bukhari, this is not outside so that someone says this is in Shia literature. In Bukhari, he says that while Fatima was alive, people would come towards me. When Fatima died, they began to distance themselves more and more from me. Until Imam Ali says, the hadith in Bukhari says, he said, call for Abu Bakr, but let him come alone. He didn't want Umar to come. Why not? Why? If you want to call for Abu Bakr, because we believe that when Fatima Zahra died, that period there was a sort of coming together of the caliphate with Imam Ali. But in Bukhari, Imam Ali says, only Abu Bakr comes to see me, nobody else. Umar doesn't come. Isn't that enough of an indication that Imam Ali alayhi salam has a major problem with Umar ibn al-Khattab and a major problem with the actions of Umar? And interestingly, later on, Umar does what he wants to do with Fadak. And later on, even you find the Umayyads themselves finding them with Fadak at their disposal. Everybody minting Fadak except Fatima Zahra alayhi salam. Fatima Zahra, as Imam Ali says in Nahj al-Balagha, me and Fatima, all that we had was what? Was Fadak. And even that they took away from us. Therefore, when we come and see the conclusion of all of this, what is it? The conclusion of all of this is that Fatima Zahra became the nemesis for that government. A clear nemesis. She is the one who stood up against that government, the one who blatantly wouldn't talk to them. If they say salam, she wouldn't reply to the salam. And I'll tell you something that's amazing. Go and see the ulama of the Sunni world in their explanation of this hadith in Bukhari. Because this hadith in Bukhari, Fatima says, I'm angry with Abu Bakr. I kept away from Abu Bakr. I refuse to talk to him till I die. I get buried without him being in the funeral. How do we explain it? The explanations are unbelievable. I've seen some contradictions in my time in the explanation. But explanations like, Abu Bakr, well, he was right because she doesn't deserve inheritance. But at the same time, she's the daughter of Rasulullah. And at the same time, you got to understand that, these things, and it got a bit emotional. But Imam Ali at the end was okay with everyone. Okay, but I'm not understanding what's going on here, because this lady's ended up dying from all of this. She's received death threats. Her house has been threatened to be burnt. First issue that emerges from this, in the Muslim world today, whenever you see us talk about these sensitive topics, as I've done in the last few nights, you'll always hear people saying, Imam Ali wouldn't have wanted us to talk about these things. Tell you what, his wife did. Imam Ali alayhi salam, you say he wouldn't have wanted the Muslims to talk about these things. His wife certainly caused the clamor. She wouldn't stop. Even while injured, she continued to speak out. She would be the one going from house to house in Medina. Going from house to house. Have you forgotten, Ghadir? You've allowed these two, the ones who go around forcing people to pledge. And I haven't even finished with how they force people. Inshallah, tomorrow, we go towards one of their foot soldiers who, if he wants to force somebody, no, he doesn't just force him, he beheads him. You go towards these two, and my Imam, my husband, Abul Hassan, all of you neglect him. Now I ask all of you, those of you who say Imam Ali would not want us to talk about these topics. Fatima al-Zahra died talking about these topics. Fatima al-Zahra alayhi salam lost her life talking about these topics. But the second issue that emerges from this is what? What's the second issue? If we are able to burn the house of Hussein while his mum's alive, what stops us from killing Hussein after his mum has died? Because you know what principle was set by the attack on Fatima? What was the principle? The principle was that Yazid could turn around and say, hold on a minute, you guys have a problem with me for threatening to kill babies at Karbala. We took her baby out. And if you guys are telling me that I'm wrong for burning tents, well, masters before me who appointed my father, they burnt a house in Medina. What happened was that the precedent was set that if Umar ibn al-Khattab and Abu Bakr are able to anger Fatima, then don't be scared if you anger Hussein. That principle that had been set became a dangerous principle because a person could turn around and use that principle. And that's why what surprises me on the third level is the Shia who doubt this incident. You meet Shia in the Muslim community, and you'll see some of them saying, yeah, but you know what, I don't really believe. It's in non-Shia books, number one. In non-Shia books, they're saying, Umar is saying to her, listen, if these guys are going to continue to gather in the house, we're going to burn the house. You tell me, if someone tells you, I'm going to burn your house, is it far-fetched to think that he may actually eventually do it? That's number one. Number two, what's the second issue? They say, well, Imam Ali alayhi salam would never allow such a thing to happen. How could he watch his wife being attacked? You never said that about the Prophet when Sumayya was being executed, Ammar's mom. Ammar's mother, Sumayya, when she was being executed, all the Prophet said, Sabran, Ali Yasir. Sabran, Ali Yasir. Sabran, Ali Yasir. Patience, O family of Yasir. Ya Rasulullah, you're the bravest warrior on earth. Go and defend her. No. Some things are matters which the Prophet takes into his own hands. Imam Ali, in our opinion, stopped those who came towards his house, those who had said already that we're going to burn the house, but he made it clear that a will of the Prophet stops me from taking this bloodshed even further. Yes? Third, they say, well, the Arabs would never do that. Which Arabs? The Saqifa Arabs? Thaqif and Hawazin, Mughira bin Shu'bah and others? Many of these already had a hate and a vengeance that they wanted to take out on the holy household. Number four, when you see a man saying, I'm going to threaten to burn the house, isn't that enough for you to realize that that person will actually go ahead what they do? Number five, why a secret burial? If she died naturally, just have a public burial. Number six, why do none of us know where she's buried? Simple reality. If she died a natural death, here, Imam al-Hassan alayhi salam, Imam al-Hussein, all of us know where they're buried. Why her in particular nobody knows? Why? as a symbol against the oppression of that time. That just in case there are some of you who think that I was not oppressed, show me, where's my grave? Can any of us see her grave? Can any of us find her grave? We search in Baqi' wherever we walk. And for all we know, we may be walking on her grave one day. Imagine that feeling that all of us have, that we don't know if we are on the grave of Fatima or not. So therefore, she was the nemesis against that government. And she, and this is a vital point, if Imam al-Hussein alayhi salam showed in his stand that Yazid's government was illegitimate, then his mum done exactly the same thing 50 years before him. Why is Yazid's government illegitimate? Because Hussein bin Ali stood up. Do you agree? The fact that Imam al-Hussein says the government is illegitimate, that's enough. If his mum does it 50 years earlier, what's the difference? If his mum agrees with that government, it's a legitimate government. If his mum says no, it's illegitimate. And therefore you found, am I surprised that Hussein bin Ali emerges the way he emerges? No. At the end of the day, if you have a mother like Fatima standing up against the oppression of her time, then you'll do the same. Question, how did the Umayyads find her? Because she eventually dies, becomes a martyr. If we fast forward the years later, how did the Umayyads find Fatima? Did they see her as glorious? Did the Muslims all see her as glorious? How did the Kufans see her? The Umayyads reached a stage, by the way, where they were cursing Fatima al-Zahra in their pulpits. The Abbasids is a different story. In Al-Kafi or Shaykh al-Kulayni, people are warned, don't praise Ali and Fatima, for there are many haters of Ali and Fatima. The Umayyads had Christian poets who would curse Fatima al-Zahra. One may argue that Zayd in his revolution stood up against these poets and stood up against the Umayyads. The Umayyads had those who hated Fatima, who disrespected Fatima. The Kufans had those who loved Fatima and had those who may have not respected Fatima. But on the 10th of Muharram, what do you find? You find that sometimes, subhanallah, you may not be a Shi'i, but if you have that love for Al Muhammad, a seed of that love for Al Muhammad, a seed of love for Zahra, it could come to help you one day in guidance towards Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Someone says, how? You look on the 10th of Muharram, when's her name mentioned? One of the times her name's mentioned is by her lovers. That young man whose mother is there on the 10th of Muharram. And she's there and she sees all the other mothers have given sons. And you see this young boy next to his mom. And she's like, it's your turn now. You go out and make me proud. And he turned around to his mom. He said, watch me, I'll make you proud. He goes to Abu Abdullah. And he says to him, Ya Abu Abdullah, it's my turn. He said, young man, go and look after your mother. Go and protect your mother. Went back to his mom said, why have you come back? He said to me, he doesn't want me to go out. He said, you have to protect you. He said, no, on the contrary. You will make me proud today. Go out and tell them who you are. His lines of poetry, until today, they cause us to cry, to break down. Our heart becomes softer because of this young man's poetry. Amiri Hussein. Allah. All of you know it. All of you know these lines. But I want you to focus in particular at his description when he gets to Fatima. Amiri Husaynun wa ni'mal amir. Okay? My prince, my master is Hussein. And this is all of us in this hall, all of you watching at home can relate to these lines. Wallah, I think all of us wish we could have said these lines. Amiri Husaynun wa ni'mal amir. Sururu fuad al-bashir nadhir. علي وفاطمة والداه فهل تعلمون له من نظير. Hussein is my prince and the most blessed prince, the one who brought happiness to the one who guided and reminded. Ali and Fatima are his parents. Have you found an equal to come near him? Allah. Young man. But that shi'ar that he gave, every Shia on earth lives by it. That we all wish we were in Karbala tonight. And if we were holding that darih, we'd say, Amiri Husaynun. ونعم الأمير سرور فؤاد البشير النذير علي وفاطمة والدا فهل تعلمون له من نظير. That man, that young man highlighted his love for Fatima al-Zahra. Then there was another one. This other one, believe you me, this other one, his love for Fatima saved him. All of us, Ya Allah, we love Fatima. But his love for Fatima, at which moment? Hor bin Yazid al-Riyahi. Hor bin Yazid al-Riyahi was commander of the opposition. Commander of the opposition. When he encounters Imam al-Hussein, even at Salah time, he says, Abu Abdullah, you have to lead us. Even though he's the leader of the opposition, he says, you are here, how can I lead Salah? So when does his love of Fatima show? He blocks Imam al-Hussein from going to Kufa. He says, I will not let you go. Imam al-Hussein says something to him. ثَكَلَتْكَ أُمُّكَ. ثَكَلَتْكَ أُمُّكَ is like when someone has literally attacked your mom. May your mom have never given birth to you. The reply of Hor bin Yazid al-Riyahi highlights to all of you, Wallah, if you have a love for Fatima, Wallah, you will be saved on the day of judgment. And Wallah, if you show hate to Fatima, then on that day may Allah save you. He looked at Hor, he said to him, ثَكَلَتْكَ أُمُّكَ, you block me from Kufa, may your mother have never given birth to you. What does Hor reply? If you were the son of any other lady, if you were the son of any other lady, then I would attack you. But your mother is Fatima. How can I say anything to you? Abu Abdullah, you can imagine, I've never seen this narrated in traditions. I'm saying this from myself. You can imagine, because of the politeness of Hor bin Yazid al-Riyahi at that moment, where anybody else, had you attacked his mom, he would have attacked your mom. Because Hor said, I cannot, your mom is Fatima, I believe maybe Abu Abdullah prayed and said, guide him. Guide him, because he has a respect for my mother. And how close was Imam al-Hussein to his mother? And that's why the morning of the 10th of Muharram came. And Hor bin Yazid al-Riyahi is on the side of Umar bin Sa'ad. But one of the soldiers said, I looked at Hor, and people were counting that, if Hor bin Yazid al-Riyahi is at the front, no one loses war. It doesn't matter who's in front of him. He said, I looked at Hor, and when I looked at him, I thought to myself, that if they told me who's the bravest soldier in the whole of Kufa, I'd say Hor bin Yazid al-Riyahi, but I look at him and he looks confused. So I came towards him, I said, Hor, what's wrong with you? If they ask me who's the bravest of the warriors, then I'd say it's Hor bin Yazid al-Riyahi. What's wrong? You seem confused. Hor bin Yazid al-Riyahi looked towards the man and he mentioned what? He mentioned the two things affected him at that moment. What were they? I give this to all of you now. The first of them was that last night I heard the children of Fatima al-Zahra calling out, Al-Atash, Al-Atash, Al-Atash. Last night I heard the daughters of Rasulullah calling out, Al-Atash, Al-Atash, Al-Atash. I could hear the thirst of the children of Abu Abdullah. That was the first one. What was the second thing that affected him? Shimr bin Dil-Jawshan that day had said, put water on the hooves of the horses. The horses are feeling the heat of Karbala. Get them some water. You care about the horses. How about the family of Rasulullah? At that moment, Hor bin Yazid al-Riyah, he thought to himself, I have to make a decision between heaven and hell. أخير نفسي بين الجنة والنار. I have to make a decision between heaven and hell. At that moment, he walked towards Abu Abdullah with his head bowed down, knowing that he had blocked the water from the children. When he got to Imam al-Hussein, Abu al-Fadl al-Abbas, he came out to him because he thought maybe an attack could come. Imam al-Hussein said, no, wait, Abbas. Maybe he has something to say to us. Remember Abu Abdullah, a few days earlier, he had known very well that this Hor had already said to him, I respect your mother Fatima. So he knew there was the seeds of change. So he came to him with his head bowed down. When he came to him and his head was bowed down, what did he say to him? He said to him, Abu Abdullah, forgive me for blocking. Allow me to come back. Imam al-Hussein, look at the softness of his heart. He said to him, Hor, don't worry, I forgive you. The next thing that Hor said breaks everyone's heart. Where's Zainab alayha salam? Why? Because it's as if he knew what would happen to Zainab, maybe because of his decision. He walked towards Zainab alayha salam and he said to her, forgive me, O granddaughter of Rasulullah. Sayyidah Zainab alayhi salam said, no, of course we forgive you, do not worry. He turned around, his son Bukair was with him. He went towards Imam al-Hussein. He said to him, Abu Abdullah, considering I'm the one who blocked you, then I should be the first to be martyred alongside you. Allow me to be the first. Imam al-Hussein said, no, Hor, leave it. He said, no, I will be the first. Let me go, Abu Abdullah. Imagine him walking towards the battlefield. He looked towards their soldiers and he said, إني أنا الحر ومأوى الضيف أضربكم في أعناقكم بالسيف عن خير من حل بلاد الخيف أضربكم ولا أرى من خيف. He fought valiantly one by one until he fell on the ground and he called out, maybe for the first time in his life, Assalamu alayka ya Abu Abdullah. Imam al-Hussein came running towards him. They sat and both of them began to look at each other. Imam looked at him. He forgot that the man blocked the water from his children. He forgot that the man could be the reason for his death. Look at the humbleness of Abu Abdullah. He looked towards Hor and he said to him, you are free, Hor, like your mother named you, free in this world and free in the hereafter. لنعم الحر حر بني رياح صبور عند مشتبك الرماح لنعم الحر إذ فاد حسينا وجاد بنفسه عند الصباح. I'll leave you all with this line now. I don't know if my grandmother Fatima is in the crowd with us tonight. She may be careful if you move your hand, you might touch a broken rib. She may be next to you. It could be next to any one of you. I don't know if she's here in the crowd. She might be, she might not be. But one thing I want to speak to her as her grandson. I want to say one thing to her. When you lost your rib in Medina, did you expect more ribs to break in Karbala? When you lost your rib in Medina, did you expect more ribs to break in Karbala? When you lost your Muhsin behind the door, did you expect to see Asghar on the floor? Allahu Akbar. When you lost your Muhsin behind the door, did you expect to see the Radi on the floor? When you were slapped behind that door, did you expect to see Zainab slapped on the floor? When you were slapped behind that door, did you expect to see Zainab on the floor? One more thing I want to ask you, grandmother. When you saw the fires around the house, did you see Sukaina running from the fires around her in Karbala? Fatima, all of you, Fatima, لو خلت الحسين مجدلا وقد مات عطشانا بشط فرات إذا للطمت الخد فاطمة عنده. Let's all raise our hands, all of us together in dua. Ya Allah, raise us with Muhammad and Al Muhammad. Raise us with the Imam of our time, Imam Sahib al-Asri wal-Zaman. Allow us to be amongst his companions and his followers. Ya Allah, allow us to see the glorious grave of Fatima Zahra alayhi salam. Ya Allah, allow us to restore Jannat al-Baqi'. Allow us to restore the graves of A'immat al-Muhammad. We pray to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala with the Surah al-Fatiha. But before it, wherever you may be, the loudest of your salawat. Allah.